I still remember the exact moment Patricia Brennan, our HOA president and self-appointed neighborhood guardian, jimmied opened my garage door with a crowbar she borrowed from the community shed. She crept inside like she was on some covert mission, her phone flashlight cutting through the darkness. What she saw next made her collapse to the concrete floor, her designer purse spilling everywhere. The security cameras caught it all in crystal clearer 4K resolution. Rows of metal cases lined the walls. Red laser dots danced across the ceiling. A massive mounted device hummed softly in the corner and right there in the center. A biometric scanning station glowed with an ominous blue light. The warning label was impossible to miss. Property of U.S. Department of Defense. Unauthorized access is a federal crime punishable by up to 20 years imprisonment. Let me back up and explain how. We got here. My name is David Parker, and I moved to Maple Grove Estates about 4 years ago after retiring from what I can only describe as government service. The neighbors knew me as the quiet guy who kept to himself. No garden parties, no barbecues, no participation in the annual block party planning committee. I drove a black SUV with tinted windows and government plates that nobody seemed to notice. My boots made that distinct military thud on pavement that anyone who served would recognize instantly. Patricia Brennan took an immediate dislike to me. She ran our HOA like her personal kingdom, and I was the subject who refused to bow. She once told my next-door neighbor that anyone who doesn't display seasonal decorations is probably running an illegal operation or harboring fugitives. Her obsession with my garage started about 6 months ago. It was a reinforced steel structure I had installed shortly after moving in, completely legal and permitted through proper channels she didn't have access to. Patricia called it an eyesore that violated the aesthetic harmony of our community. She started with the passive-aggressive notices. Your garage door color deviates from approved pallet guidelines. Suspected storage of non-residential equipment. Failure to submit quarterly property inspection forms. I never responded to a single one. This only fueled her determination. She escalated her tactics like a general planning a siege. First came the drone surveillance, that little buzzing pest circling my property every Sunday morning. Then she filed public records requests trying to dig up my construction permits. She even started spreading rumors at the monthly HOA meetings, telling everyone she heard strange humming sounds at night and saw mysterious deliveries in unmarked trucks. The morning she broke in, I had deliberately left for the grocery store at my usual time, 9:15 sharp. Patricia had been watching my routine for weeks, thinking she was clever. What she didn't know was that I had been watching her watch me. The motion sensors in my garage triggered the moment she crossed the threshold. The automated system kicked in immediately. Intruder detected. Initiating containment protocol. Please remain still for identification scan. Patricia's scream could probably be heard 3 houses away. The drone deployment system activated, and 2 surveillance units rose from their charging stations, their cameras focusing on her trembling form. She tried to run but tripped over her own feet, landing hard next to a case marked Experimental Defense Technology, Clearance Level 7 required. That's when I pulled back into my driveway, timing it perfectly. I found her curled up on my garage floor, mumbling something about federal agents and prison time. I calmly called 911, then made another call to my former supervisor at the Pentagon. The local police arrived first, took one look at my credentials, and immediately called for backup. Not the aggressive kind, but the kind that involves a lot of yes sir, no sir, and backing away slowly. Within an hour, 3 black Suburbans pulled up. Men in dark suits had a very brief, very quiet conversation with Patricia. I could see her face go from defiant to confused to absolutely terrified in the span of about 30 seconds. They didn't arrest her on the spot, but they made it very clear that any further discussion of what she saw would result in federal charges. You see, my garage wasn't just storage. It was technically still classified as an active research facility under contract with the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Those weren't weapons she saw. They were prototypes for next-generation reconnaissance equipment. The humming she complained about was from the cooling systems for the quantum computing array I was testing. Everything in there was completely legal for me to have, but completely illegal for her to see. The breaking and entering charge alone would have been bad enough, but trespassing on federal property and potentially compromising classified materials turned this into something much bigger. Patricia tried to play the victim at first, claiming I had set a trap for her. That argument fell apart when I provided footage of her using a crowbar on my door. The weeks leading up to her break-in were actually amusing in retrospect. Patricia had recruited her inner circle, what I called the Maple Grove Mafia, to help in her surveillance efforts. There was Janet Morrison from 2 houses down, who pretended to walk her poodle past my house 6 times a day. There was Robert Garrison, the retired accountant, who suddenly developed an interest in bird-watching with binoculars pointed directly at my garage. And of course, Patricia's right-hand woman, Susan Blackwell, who started hosting book club meetings in her front yard with a perfect view of my driveway. They thought they were being subtle. They were not. I had documentation of everything. Every photo they took, every whispered conversation at the mailbox cluster, every suspicious dog walk. My security system was military grade, something they should have considered before targeting someone who obviously had government connections. Patricia's breaking point came when I received a delivery from an unmarked truck at 2 in the morning. She was watching from her bedroom window. I could see the curtain move. The delivery was actually just specialized computer components for my work, but the way the delivery team wore tactical gear and used code words probably didn't help her paranoia. She called an emergency HOA meeting the next day, demanding the board support her in forcing an inspection of my property. The board was hesitant, especially our treasurer, Michael Hoffman, who had actually served in the military and recognized the signs of someone you don't want to mess with. But Patricia overruled him, claiming she had probable cause based on suspicious activity. She even drafted a letter to the city council, which thankfully never got sent because she decided to take matters into her own hands first. The morning of the break-in, I had left breadcrumbs for her to follow. I made sure to mention loudly on a phone call while getting my mail that I would be gone for exactly 2 hours for a medical appointment. I even left my side gate slightly ajar, though the path to the garage was still monitored by no less than 12 hidden cameras. Patricia took the bait like a hungry fish. She came prepared with her crowbar, a flashlight, and even wore all black like some suburban ninja. The look on her face when she finally got the door open was priceless, a mixture of triumph and vindication that lasted exactly 3 seconds before the automated security system welcomed her to a federal facility. The HOA board held an emergency meeting that night. Patricia didn't attend. Her resignation letter arrived the next morning via certified mail. It was 2 sentences long. Due to personal circumstances, I am stepping down as HOA president effective immediately. I will not be available for questions. The federal prosecutors offered her a deal: plead guilty to criminal trespass, pay a $50,000 fine, perform 300 hours of community service, and sign a non-disclosure agreement that essentially meant she could never speak about what happened. The alternative was facing federal charges that carried a potential 5-year prison sentence. She took the deal immediately. The courtroom was packed when Patricia appeared for sentencing. Half the neighborhood showed up, probably expecting some drama. They got their money's worth. The federal prosecutor laid out the charges in excruciating detail: breaking and entering a federal facility, attempted theft of government property, even though she hadn't actually taken anything, compromising classified materials, obstruction of a federal investigation when she initially lied about her reasons for being there. The judge, a stern woman named Helen Crawford, listened to everything with an expression that grew increasingly grim. Patricia's lawyer tried to argue for leniency, painting her as an overzealous HOA president who made a terrible mistake. The Wayne prosecutor countered by showing the security footage of Patricia methodically breaking in, clearly premeditated. When it came time for Patricia to speak, she broke down completely. She talked about how she was just trying to protect the neighborhood, how she thought I was dangerous, how she never meant for things to go this far. The judge was unmoved. She pointed out that Patricia had numerous opportunities to handle her concerns legally. She could have contacted local law enforcement with her suspicions. She could have worked through proper HOA channels. Instead, she chose to commit multiple felonies based on nothing more than paranoia and a need for control. The sentence came, down like a hammer. Guilty on all counts, $75,000 in fines. Not the 50 originally offered. 400 hours of community service, 5 years probation with monthly check-ins, and the worst part for someone like Patricia, a permanent criminal record that would show up on every background check for the rest of her life. Patricia's legs gave out when she heard 75,000. Her lawyer had to steady her as she gripped the defendant's table, but the judge wasn't finished. She also issued a restraining order. Patricia was not allowed within 500 FT of my property and was banned from any position of authority in any homeowners association for the duration of her probation. The judge's final words still echo in my mind. Ms. Brennan, you violated the trust of your community and committed serious federal crimes. Your actions could have compromised national security. This sentence reflects the gravity of your choices. Patricia's sobs filled the courtroom as the bailiff read the full terms. $75,000, 400 hours, 5 years probation. Her face was a mask of shock and disbelief as she signed the plea agreement with a shaking.